Welcome and thank you for listening to the Sales Maven Show. I'm your host, Nikki Rausch. I'm your own personal sales maven here to offer you tips and strategies and techniques to master your sales conversation. All right, here's the question for you today. Have you ever received one piece of feedback that made you question everything? Maybe somebody responded to an email that you sent and said they didn't really understand the offer or they didn't see the value of the offer. Or maybe they gave you some feedback about your website or your podcast or your YouTube channel, and it made you go, oh no, I need to change direction. So, if you have ever found yourself spiraling in these moments when you get this piece of feedback and wanting to make some big change, then today's episode really is for you because I'm going to share a mindset shift that protects your confidence and keeps you from making emotional business decisions. So, this episode came from a recent experience. A client that I am working with, we had worked out a re-engagement campaign. It's been a while since she's been in touch with her email list. So we came up with a re-engagement campaign. And side note, we've had a ton of success with it, like 5 new buyers just in the first couple of emails. And then one person responded to one of her emails and said, I've always really wanted to hire you, but I just don't really understand how you work with clients. And now my client reaches out to me and she's ready to make some big changes because after the engagement campaign, we have been working on a promo campaign, an email promotional campaign to really promote one of her services. And she was like, I think we need to change the direction of this promo series. I think we need to scrap what we've done and start over and incorporate this person's feedback. And this is a normal reaction, by the way, because of course we want people to understand who we are and what we do and how we work with clients. And that is all critical to the success of your business. And I asked her to take a step back and tell me a little bit about the person who was giving the feedback. Is this an ideal buyer? Is this somebody that you have any kind of connection to in some way? Is this somebody who would actually hire you for your services? Or is there something else going on? Because sometimes the person that's giving you feedback has an ulterior motivation behind it. And the idea here is that not all feedback deserves equal weight because as business owners, of course we should stay open to feedback, but we also really need discernment because otherwise we spend so much time reacting instead of leading our businesses. Here's an example from my own business where this has actually happened a few times, but I remember the first time it happened where somebody had reached out and in a very kind, like sweet message to me said how much they valued my work and how they had, signed up to receive this lead magnet that I had, but it had never shown up. And they ended up finding it in their junk folder a couple weeks later and just thought that I should know as a business owner because there's things that I could do to fix it. Now, when I get this, like my first initial reaction is like, oh my gosh, there's something wrong with my email system and I really need to fix it. But as I dug a little bit deeper, it turned out that this person was actually selling their email services. And maybe that's surprising to you and maybe it's not. And there's nothing wrong with them selling something, but I need to have discernment before I make some big changes to my email system because is that actually true what they're saying? Now, I have since received at least 2 or 3 from different people of this exact same strategy with the exact same message. So it does make me question, like, okay, what's going on here? But the idea is that we need to have a filter. So I have something that I want to share with you today, and it's called the Earn the Right filter. So this is a framework. It's got 4 questions for you to ask yourself when you find yourself in these moments of starting to spiral and wanting to make some big changes and or shifts to your business. So before allowing this feedback to influence any of your business decisions, you're going to ask yourself if it has earned the right to do so. So here's the first question is, has the person who's given this feedback earned the right to give it? So who's giving the feedback? Are they your ideal buyer? Do they understand the type of work you do? Would they actually ever hire you? Because not every opinion comes from someone qualified to shape your business. I have so many examples over the years, over the last 13 years of coaching clients, where somebody will say to me, I'm not comfortable sending out an offer to my email list, Nikki, because my aunt who's on my email list told me that she doesn't like to receive sales offers from me. And my question is always like, is your aunt a potential buyer at any point? Well, no. Well, then let's remove her from your email list. She has not earned the right. Now, nothing wrong. Like, obviously, be respectful of your family members. I don't mean that. But in this particular case, this person has not earned the right to shift any kind of decision around your business. So, like, doesn't count. Question 2, has the feedback earned the right? Like, is this one isolated opinion, or are you hearing this repeatedly from your ideal clients? Because one opinion is not a trend. Patterns deserve attention. Random opinions deserve evaluation. And I have a rule in my business, and I use this a lot when I'm creating content, is if I get the same question 3 to 5 times, I create content around it. Now, sometimes I hear something one time and I create content, but if I hear something 3 to 5 times, content is going to be created. And as a matter of fact, my training center that is made up of the Sales Maven Society, I have a very robust training center. I can probably go back and point to 90% of the content that is in that training center is because I have received that question multiple times, and people still go through this training. Some of that training has been in there since I started the program in 2017. 2017, I think, is when the training center first started. And I just had somebody say to me, a client just said to me recently, like, "Oh my gosh, Nikki, that piece of training was so helpful and I just needed that." Well, yeah, because she had a similar question to somebody else who had it, right? So I have done really well when I think about creating content with the questions, but it can be harder when it's not great feedback for you to decide, like, do you make a business decision? So patterns, if clients are consistently telling you something, pay attention to that. When I when I very first started my business back in 2013, I was convinced that I could teach all of my classes over an audio conferencing system. Now, if that seems crazy to you, then maybe you weren't in the business world in 2013, but audio conferencing was really popular. Video conferencing, not so much. But I didn't want to be on video, right? So I just kept I got some feedback from some clients saying, "Nikki, I really wish that I could see you when you're training." And I was like, "You don't need to see me because it's about the content. It's not about me." And then, my NLP training kicked in and also the feedback kicked in. And then I switched to video, right? The reason I started the podcast, never ever wanted to be on video. I wanted to do audio only. And now every single one of my podcasts are recorded and that video is put up on YouTube for somebody who might want to watch it, right? Like that's an option. So, listen to like multiple feedback from your buyers in this particular case. Now, here's another story that I want to share with you. And before I do, I want to also say that I'm not encouraging to be a total skeptic around feedback. I think feedback is really important. But if you follow this, like earn the right, and you ask yourself these 4 questions that I'm going to share, I know I've given you 2, but when I get to the next couple, like if you'll ask yourself these questions, it just helps you stay the course and stay focused on the things that really matter to you. So here's another story. A few years ago, I was asked to speak at a networking event, and the person who was on the board of this networking group had reached out to me. And when we were talking about like the topic and the date and the time and all of that, she said to me, now, with all of the speakers, I schedule a feedback call. And that feedback call is to share, you know, like what the members have to say. And speakers find it highly valuable. So I'm like, okay, well, that's what they do. So, yep. So we scheduled our speaker feedback call, right? So I go give my presentation and then we get on the feedback call. And she doesn't really, I mean, she has nice things to say because it went really well. And, you know, like that's one of the places where I don't lack confidence is when I'm on stage and speaking. So it went well. It was really well received from the members. But then it turned out that the speaker feedback call was because she actually sells services to speakers on how to improve their presentations. Now, she didn't actually have any feedback for me, but she did want to sell me her services. And then it starts to take some of the like, well, I guess that's one way to get a prospect on a call, but like, okay, so she, it just starts to go, okay, but what's the intent here? Like, and so that's going to bring us to our third question. Like, what was the intent? Like, totally makes sense for her that that's her business. And then she signs up to be the board member who books the speakers. Like, kind of a smart strategy on her part. Uh, no shame in it at all. It's just from a speaker standpoint, for me in that moment, I need to have discernment and understand the feedback that's being given. Like, what's the intent? So this is the third question is, has their intent earned the right? So this is another place to like get really curious because curiosity is so important. What is actually motivating this feedback? Ask yourself that. Sometimes people genuinely want to support you, and sometimes they're sharing an honest observation, and that is beautiful and wonderful and helpful. But sometimes they're positioning themselves as the solution. And that doesn't automatically invalidate their feedback, but it does mean that you need to recognize before automatically reorganizing any part of your business, like the intent behind it. Okay. And then question 4 in the earn the right feedback piece here is, has your own data earned more trust? So important. So with my client and this re-engagement campaign, she had 5 buyers in just the first 3 emails in the re-engagement campaign that we sent out. And they didn't all buy the same thing. There was actually a myriad of different services purchased. So there's some real data there to like check in. There didn't seem to be a lack of clarity for the 5 people who bought as to ways to work with her and ways to hire her. So I want you to ask yourself, like, what are your actual paying clients? What have they said? And what results do you consistently create? And what feedback do you receive over and over again? So you don't want to let one comment outweigh years of successful client experiences. Trust your data. So the mindset shift here becomes, instead of should I change everything, start asking yourself is, has this feedback earned the right to change my strategy? And that one question is going to create the space that's needed for you to make an informed decision. Because that really is like where wise business happens. All right, so here's a closing challenge for you if you're open to it. Is the next time someone gives you some feedback that makes you question yourself or your business, don't immediately go into fix mode. Pause and run it through the earn the right filter. So the 4 questions again. Has the person earned the right? Has the feedback earned the right? Has the intent earned the right? And has my own data earned more trust? And then after you answer those 4 questions, you'll be able to make decisions about course correction or changes or stay the course, whatever it is. But I really want to leave you with this, that confidence doesn't certainly doesn't come from ignoring feedback, but it really comes from knowing which feedback deserves your attention. Because most successful business owners, they're not making changes based on one person's like piece of feedback. They are the ones who are thoughtfully deciding what has earned the right to influence their business. And just remember, discernment protects your confidence. And isn't that so important? I love this word discernment and, of course, confidence. So protect your confidence with discernment and see how things will shift the next time somebody gives you your feedback. Run it through the earn the right filter. And then if you feel inclined to want to share, how did it go? I would love to hear. And if this is a filter that you find valuable and or would like to share, then I'm going to ask, would you please share this episode or comment about the episode on social media? Any way to let people know about this. It's always appreciated. Now, thank you so much for listening. I appreciate you and I am wishing you successful interactions with all of the people you come into contact with and success in your business as you use discernment to make the right decision for you and for your business. Okay. Have a great rest of your day.